And yet again today, the talk of the political world surrounded the sexual harassment accusations that are being leveled at Republican frontrunner Herman Cain. Now, this afternoon, the attorney for one of Cain's accusers announced that his client will not go public about the incident that allegedly took place back in 1999.
She and her husband see no value in revisiting this matter now, nor in discussing the matter any further, publicly or privately. In fact, it would be extremely painful to do so. Mr. Cain knows the specific incidents that were alleged. My client filed a written complaint in 1999 against him specifically, and it had very specific incidents in it. And if he chooses to not remember or not acknowledge those, that's his issue.
Now, Bennett also directly contradicted some of what Herman Cain told me on my radio program yesterday. You may recall, Cain was adamant that a severance package was paid to the woman and not a settlement. Now, Bennett was asked about Cain's claim this afternoon.
That is an inaccurate description of the settlement agreement. This was a settlement of an internal complaint of sexual harassment. It was not a severance agreement.
Now, all of this unfolded as it was happening. Cain pressed forward with his campaign, even releasing a powerful video in response to the anonymous attacks that he has endured all week. Let's take a look.
What is known as the mainstream media goes for the ugliest racial stereotypes they can to attack a black conservative.
He is either socially ignorant or playing games to get votes.
It's very hard to comment on somebody who is so denied intelligence.
This is a circus. It's a national disgrace. It is a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks who in any way deign to think for themselves. And it is a message that unless you kowtow to an old order, you will be lynched, destroyed, caricatured, rather than hung from a tree.
So could a comparison be made between the Clarence Thomas confirmation hearings and the way that Herman Cain was treated this week? Joining me now in studio with reaction, the author of the best-selling book, Muzzled, The Assault on Honest Debate, Fox News political analyst Juan Williams. Good to see you. How are you?
Nice to see you, Sean. I got to tell you before we start, I just watched that, that business with Sharpton and Belafonte, denied intelligence. Who is trucking in racial stereotypes here? Who is trying to destroy somebody? It's unbelievable that one black man would do that to another.
But I played you also this week. I played you some audio.
Yeah.
And it got worse. Smoking the proverbial crack pipe.
Oh, I heard it, yeah.
And it gets worse. He is...
Bad apple.
Bad apple. He is the Tea Party's one black friend. And it gets worse from there.
Yeah. Well, the whole idea is he's a token, he's a puppet, he's being manipulated, he's someone who is being used by white people. I mean, it's unbelievable. They would deny this man his own independent intelligence, his will, his own success. It is an outrage. And you think about this, you think about what happened to Clarence Thomas, you think about what they're doing now to Herman Cain, and the parallels are clear. I don't know how you could deny it, how you'd have to turn away from it.
What is it? There seems to be an acceptance that you can attack black conservatives, African-American conservatives, you can attack conservative women. Lately, I've noticed they're going after Marco Rubio, right. Hispanic conservative. Why can this happen in this day and age? Why?
Well, because it's permitted, and because people that disagree, people that leave the liberal orthodox playing field, people who want to think for themselves are immediately condemned as traitorous. And if someone's a traitor, well, then, of course, they're a target. And I can't help but think that this week what we've seen with Herman Cain is a man, as he describes it, with a big target on his back, Sean. This guy, can you imagine that the AP is running stories, anonymous stories by people who never filed a complaint, but who now, that Herman Cain is vulnerable, want to jump on the bandwagon and whip him? This is unbelievable.
I remember, and you and I have talked about this a lot, both personally on air and off the air. You got emotional tonight that Barack Obama got elected.
Sure.
For historical reasons.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I've written books about the civil rights movement.
You have. And this is what's interesting to me. There could be a possibility that we would have in America, because he's a leading Republican contender, an African-American elected and another black American elected back to back.
Correct.
And why would people not see that as a historical achievement as well. Because I totally understand why you felt that way.
Right. But you know what, Sean? He's not a certain kind of black person. He doesn't think in a way that fits their mold. And so the idea that, remember, even Barack Obama was slow to get support from the black liberal establishment because he wasn't exactly their kind of guy either. Well, he's become more their kind of guy. But when you think about Herman Cain is a threat. I've said this to you before, a threat to that black liberal establishment. When Herman Cain is out there saying, really, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When Herman Cain is out there saying, I have ideas about the needs to improve the black community, things that can be done in empowerment zones and the rest. When he starts talking about what's going on in the schools, when Herman Cain is out there talking about tax reform that will benefit all Americans, but it doesn't fit the kind of rhetoric that's being trumpeted by the liberal establishment and especially the black liberal establishment. He's not talking victimization.
No,
he's talking about empowerment. And I want to say this loud and clear. He's a model for, for my black kids, but for your kids too, Sean.
Pillsbury, Burger King,
successful,
Coke,
exactly.
Godfather's Pizza.
How about the GOP primaries? Nobody gave him a shot.
Well, what bothers you, look at the rhetoric, though, we've heard about race, about the Tea Party. Tea Party's not a racist movement.
No, I don't think so.
All right,
no, there have been instances where that have concerned me, but overall, they're about lower taxes, smaller government. That's what it's about.
You've got a congressman in Florida saying that conservatives in America want blacks hanging from trees. You've got the president saying Republicans want dirty air, dirty water. You got Joe Biden saying that if you don't support the president's new stimulus, rapes and murders are going to go up, and obviously those Republicans want it. And this rhetoric is going on here. In this case, it's 5 days. No source, no direct source in this story. Number two, the accuser has said she doesn't want to talk about this case.
This is an important development because remember today, the Restaurant Association said if she wants to come out, they would waive the confidentiality agreement. She then says, no, she doesn't want to come out. Well, wait a minute then. What is going on here? And this business that the lawyer, you had the lawyer there saying, well, that's not quite right what Mr. Cain said on your show. Of course it is right. But Cain said that there was an agreement, and the Restaurant Association said he wasn't party to any agreement.
That's right.
They didn't call it a settlement.
That's right. They called it they backed up Cain's story.
Exactly. So what is he talking about?
And this lawyer is out there irresponsibly, I think, not speaking on behalf of his client, obviously. If he's not going to give the details, at some point, people got to say, okay, if you're not going to release this, if you're not going to tell the story and make a direct confrontation, he needs to be set free. And I'll tell you why in this sense. Because if people have the demon of doubt in their mind, because his likability has been key to his success.
Absolutely.
But if people think, this may come out in the general campaign, then in that sense, it is going to hurt him and it is going to linger, and people are not going to want to put a candidate that might be vulnerable in the general campaign.
You see, the thing is, and this is the way Herman Cain puts it, let Herman be Herman. Let him be himself. His biggest asset is Herman Cain. People feel he's an authentic conservative voice in America. They don't see a flip-flopper. They see a guy who stands up and makes his case and makes it emphatically with strength. And they want that against Barack Obama. Now, if you begin to introduce this doubt that you're talking about, you're undercutting the guy. You're destroying.
But they're not going to release him from this. It's hanging out there now.
It's terrible, and it's horrible. And it's to me, it's only possible when you see a strong black conservative that is now being pilloried and permission given by the black liberal establishment to go after this black man in this very lowball way.
This has got to stop. These attacks against conservative African Americans, conservative women, has got to stop.
Hispanics.
And the only way it's going to happen, I got to tell you, is because people like you, who I almost always disagree with, have the courage to speak out. And I give you a lot of credit. I really do.
Well, I appreciate it. I just think it's an outrage.
And you're going to get beaten up.
Oh, I get beat up on this all the time. I mean, talking to you, you say, Juan, you're more left than I am. But you know what most people see?
You're way left.
Yeah, right. But guess what? That's not the way a lot of people
view me. If it's Herman Cain and Barack Obama, you're voting for Obama.
Well, I don't know who I'm voting for. I'm not sure about Herman Cain in terms of would I put him up against Obama. And I'm not sure how that would play out. But I got to tell you this. I think there are a lot of black people in this country who, seeing what Herman Cain has done, would vote for Herman Cain.
I gotta tell you,
I think it might break apart some of this block.
But I'll tell you, you're right. Every kid can be inspired. His father was a janitor with 3 jobs. His mother was a maid. He grew up poor. He broke through so many difficult challenges in his life and succeeded, and now may be the president one day or be running for president.
What an awesome story. And imagine that you would somehow want to diminish this man, talk about his intelligence, call him a bad apple, say he's on a crack pipe.
It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, and every American should stand up and say no.
All right. That's
enough.
I agree. Totally agree. Good to see you, Juan. Thank you.
Nice to see you, Sean.
And coming up, the Greek Prime Minister survived tonight's confidence vote.